Yes guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm currently sat here with my dirty chai latte, which is very, very nice. Sam's got one and Shannon's got one. And we are sat outside a lovely place called Number 16, is that what it's called? Don't want to have to turn all the way around. Number 16. And this video is going to be a season wrap-up, 2023 prep wrap-up. We're going to overlay some footage from the entire prep, and I'm going to basically just talk you through the ins and outs of the prep, how everything went, my thoughts, my feelings. So let's start from the very start. I've got my my Instagram and my sheets up here in front of me so I can remember everything, because it's all just a bit of a blur. So basically, I started prep at the end of March, which is basically like 32 weeks ago. So the prep was 31 weeks in total. I did a 12-week pre-prep diet as well, which was just before we went to Morocco. So I basically finished my, I finished my pre-prep diet. Where were we? Sorrento. We went to the Amalfi Coast for Shannon's birthday, and kind of like our anniversary. So I did my pre-prep diet then, came back, pushed things back up, and then dieted from the end of March. So since then, I had 31 weeks basically of fat loss, and towards the end it did just get a little bit draining. I think in hindsight I'd probably try and keep it to a maximum of 26 weeks in future. I think 20 weeks to 26 weeks is probably a good time frame for anybody, I would say, naturally, but I think enhanced as well. Obviously you've got the ability to lose a bit faster if you're enhanced, and you've got other tools at your disposal. But I do think I still very much agree with the fact that a longer prep is going to be beneficial, but obviously there comes a point, and it shows in the data as well, both my data, anecdotal data with my clients, but also in the actual literature. If you're pushing on past 6 months plus 30 plus weeks, your physique just starts to fade a little bit. Obviously it depends on how lean you are at that point, how long you stay in that lean for, but yeah, basically I'd say probably in the past like maybe month or two, it did just get to the point where, you know, my physique wasn't really getting much better, especially in the last few weeks. A lot of that is psychological as well. But yeah, basically ended up being 31 weeks. And in future, I'd probably be looking at sticking to a maximum of 26. Also, you know, one thing that I definitely learned was multiple peaks is going to be very, very difficult, especially if you're, let's say, having your first show 10, 12 weeks from your last show. It's very difficult. So as much as it was good to get a lot of data, and I wouldn't change it because I enjoyed the shows that I did and I got a lot of data, and I was able to spend a lot of time actually sort of gaining stage experience, gaining experience as a coach and as an athlete, actually having my clients there on my own show days and also having their own show days. Like, I gained a lot of experience from that. But in future, I do think, you know, you're probably wanting to have maybe all of your shows within a 4 to 6 week period. So that's something that I'll take forward for future preps for myself and also for my clients' preps. But also, one thing you've got to do is just be adaptive. Like, take Josh for example. Josh C-Fit got lean very, very quickly. Therefore we jumped into the WMBF show, the first timers show, early on in the year, because he looked great. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. And he wasn't really digging hard at all at that point. And to be fair, I haven't had to push him that hard throughout. More so it's just been a case of like time frame for Josh. But you've got to be adaptive. Likewise with other clients, it might be that you aim for a certain show, but maybe they're not ready at that certain show, so you delay that show. So being adaptive is another thing that I definitely learned throughout the prep. You have to be adaptive with myself and with my clients. But yeah, like in terms of the actual season itself, so the first show ended up being a men's physique show, which I obviously wasn't planning on doing at the start of the prep. That was the 15th of July, which was 17 weeks into the prep. And by that point, I looked pretty good. I was relatively lean. I was pretty lean through the upper body. I was in good enough condition for men's physique. The wasp. I was in good enough condition for men's physique. Luckily, I don't care about the wasp. Oh, you hit it. Shannon made contact with the wasp. That's going to bring all its mates and get us. It's getting Sam now. It's gone. It's left us alone. I'm going to have a sip of my chai latte. That is incredible. So yeah, I was in decent enough condition to win a men's physique show, FitX. What we thought was my only win of the season. Stay tuned till the end to find out that it wasn't. So yeah, basically I won that show. I won that show based on the fact that I think I wasn't incredible as a men's physique guy. I looked pretty decent, condition wise was good enough, wasn't shredded, but obviously I was doing men's physique, so I didn't need to be like inside out. Obviously it wasn't my main show. It was quite a nice look, a decent amount of fullness. Obviously my lower body wasn't anywhere near as lean as it was towards the end of the prep, but it didn't need to be because I had board shorts on. I actually quite enjoyed that, and at that point I was absolutely fine. Like, I wasn't digging in any way. I was low 170s at that point and just feeling fine. Like, I don't think, obviously if I was to go back to that point, I probably would have had days where I was sort of dragging a little bit, but I don't think, in comparison to how I felt like later down the line, I felt absolutely sound for the men's physique show. So that was mid-July, and then after that we had another 3 weeks, and that was when I did the A1. And between that time, that was when I like ran myself into the ground, because I was like, well, I'm not really lean enough for bodybuilding. I was like, I'm lean enough for men's physique and I look pretty good, but I'm not lean enough for bodybuilding, and I need to be. So within the space of 3 weeks, I like pretty much ran myself into the ground and just made myself look horrendous. So like, looking on my sheets, I was having 1,200 calories on rest days, I was doing an hour's cardio, I was doing 20,000 steps, I was doing 30 minutes non-stop posing practice. Like, yeah, I was just running myself into the ground, and I didn't really realise it because I was just in such a good routine. At this point as well, like, my work efficiency was ridiculous. Like, by like 7 a.m. I'd have done my cardio, I'd have woken up at like 4, I'd have done an hour's cardio, 10,000 steps on the treadmill, I'd have got back to all training clips, I'd have prepared like multiple Instagram posts, I'd have prepared all my check-ins by like 7 a.m. It was stupid. And like, I didn't even realise that I was just like, this is what I'm doing. And like, during this time I wasn't really communicating with Shannon. I didn't realise how I was being, because I was just so like on it, like go, I've got work to do, I've got steps to do, I've got cardio to do, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, that I didn't really think at any point. I didn't have any time to breathe or even like question anything. It got a little bit excessive, or very excessive, but I didn't really realise it. And it got to a point where I was like, I wasn't looking any better, I was just looking worse. And then my body started to fight me in terms of, like, I was holding a lot of fluid, so I had like quite bad edema through my lower body. Like, my ankles were like massively swollen. This was all in the lead up to the A1 show. Shannon was a bit worried. And the thing is as well, like, I shouldn't have put so much pressure. The A1 show was always just a case of a bit of a warm up. Like, when I planned to do it, in my head it was like, well, I'm doing that show just to practice posing, like literally just to practice posing and see how I look on stage when I'm a good few weeks out and I'm not going to be ready yet. But because of how your mindset can get within a prep, I got to the point where I was like, I need to be amazing at this show, I need to win this show, I need to be like the best that I can possibly be at this show. And like, that's ridiculous, but you get in your own head, and you know, you're not really thinking straight at that point. So yeah, I ran myself into the ground, did the A1, came second out of 2, so great showing. To be fair, like, looking back, I didn't look as bad as I thought, but I felt awful because, just again, I just basically ran myself into the ground. So after that, I had a chat with Reese, had a chat with Shannon. I was like, right, I need to actually take my foot off the gas a little bit. I need to be more sort of mindful of how I'm being. I need to be more, or I need to be a little bit more realistic with how I'm managing the prep, and how I was pushing myself, and how I was being with Shannon, how I was being with people around me. For people who like listen to the podcast, follow the podcast, just go back to ones around that time, before that time, I wasn't myself. People were messaging me like, are you okay? People were messaging Reese like, what's wrong with Finn? I was just battered. I was just running myself into the ground, trying to get as lean as I possibly could. I mean, yeah, my body wasn't really responding well. Dropped off fatigue, had a good amount more food. We had like a week where I was basically I'd already increased my food targets, and then we were like, on top of that, I'm going to have, let's say, 300 calories from a Krispy Kreme donut, or we're going to go and get 500 calories from this or that. And I responded ridiculously well. Like, it's probably the best that I looked on the entire prep, to be fair. And it was more so just a massive sort of super compensation from being so trashed to then eating more, training feeling amazing, being really full from eating a good amount more food, dropping so much fatigue, still having a tan from the A1. Like, it's probably the best that I looked throughout the whole prep. So that was a nice period of the prep. We enjoyed that, didn't we? And then after that, it was a case of pushing on till I think I did the BMBF? I did the BMBF qualifier. Yeah, so we went from the A1 3 weeks later to the BMBF qualifier. So this was the busiest show that I had in terms of clients. So I had 6 clients and myself, and that's on YouTube. So if you want to watch the video, go and watch that video. I wasn't overly happy with the look on that day. I think I was just heavily stressed because I had a lot of clients on stage. It wasn't a bad look, but it definitely could have been better. It was quite a full look. I definitely had a decent amount of fullness leading into it. But yeah, I think the stress load that came with having that many clients on the same day as me just wasn't great. Also, we stayed at an Airbnb the night before. I didn't sleep well being out of my normal environment. Like, all these things that I learned that then benefited other shows further down the line. So like after that, I was like, right, I don't really want to stay over the night before. I'd rather just have my own bed and have my own routine. So we learned from that show. I came second to Mattia, and he was good. He was really good. So yeah, fair enough. That was the right result. And again, I benefited from that show because then the plans sort of changed. So I did the UKDFBA Southern the week after, which was like a show that I jumped into earlier. Then I wasn't planning on doing that show initially. I was planning on doing the Heart of England. I jumped into the Southern early, and that was a really nice show because it was just me and Jack, JPMVMT. It was just us two doing that show. So that was really nice. So I did 2 classes. I came second in the men's medium. That was when Charlie beat me for the first time. And then I came third in the classic, which to be fair I was pretty happy with because I only got beat by Aaron and Jack Kinsey-Clough. So like, they both had really good seasons and they're both very, very good. So yeah, third in the classic, second in the men's medium. And then that's when I changed my plans. So I'm going to have another drink of my nice latte. So yeah, after the UKDFBA, the qualifier, the Southern, that was when I changed my plans. So I cancelled my BMBF finals because realistically, like, I knew that I wasn't going to be of the standard. I'd seen the men's medium. I think I could and would have probably placed maybe top 5, but I knew that it wasn't going to be a case of going and like winning that show. I don't think that was realistic. There's some really, really good guys in that class. And then I cancelled the UKDFBA Heart of England. Main reason being I had a few clients in that show and I wanted to focus on them, and also I'd already gained qualification, so I was like, I don't really need to do that show. So yeah, I didn't do that show. In hindsight, the guy that won the UKDFBA Northern overall, I beat him 2 or 3 times this season. So I should have done that show because then I'd have had an overall and I could put that in my bio. But yeah, that just shows the importance of, it's about who turns up on the day. Like, there's multiple shows that I could have done this year and I'd have probably won the overall. But that doesn't mean that I'm a better bodybuilder or I'm a worse bodybuilder. It just means that nobody better than me turned up. So remember that, people, when you're competing. It's about who you end up being against. You could be your absolute best, you could be incredible, you could have absolutely nailed the peak, nailed everything, but somebody just a bit better than you comes along. Fair play. That's what this sport is about. Like, that's how it is, it happens. Likewise, you could have had a horrendous peak, you could have binged the night before, you could have been like literally handled the prep horrendously. You could have overeaten loads, you could have not done your cardio, not done your steps, but you turn up and you're the only one in your class and you win. That doesn't mean that you're any better or any worse. Like, you just didn't have somebody that turned up better than you. So yeah, that's one thing that you have to remember. But yeah, I should have done that overall, or should have done that show. So yeah, basically I didn't do the BMBF finals and I didn't do the UKDFBA Heart of England because that would have meant that I'd have had like another 2 shows before what was like the first main show, which was the UKDFBA finals. And I didn't want to be peaking again and again and again. By this point, I'd sort of realised that peaking every 2-3 weeks, the actual peak itself is fine, it's the fun part, but it's the part in between where you're depleting back down, or the part between where you're training, on a peak week, especially like leg training, for example, the week of a show, you're either not training legs, or even like 7 to 10 days before a show, your last leg day, your last 2 leg days, you might be leaving 1 or 2 reps in reserve to make sure you're not creating loads of inflammation. It's just not as fun. So I was like, I want to get a good solid like month of training in, training really well, like feeling really good, and then I can have these other shows. So that was definitely a good decision, and that benefited my physique a lot. And at the time, like, it was a case of, it's a shame because it's 2 shows that I'm not going to be doing. But by that point, I'd already done like 3 or 4 shows. So it wasn't like, I need to do more and more and more. But I have to remember as well, like, this was realistically like my first season, my first full season. Last time when I competed, it was the year of COVID. So I wanted to do multiple shows, but they all got cancelled. I only was able to do 1 show. There was only 1 show with the UKDFBA. They didn't do any qualifiers, and then the BMVF ended up being postponed multiple times, so I didn't end up doing that show. So I went into this season only ever doing 1 show. I think a lot of people think I've done more than that, but I only did 1 show based on the fact that it was COVID. So I wanted to do plenty of shows, but by this point I'd kind of realised, this isn't going to benefit me doing another however many shows along the way. So we waited to basically then go into the UKDFBA, trickled down to my absolute lowest of 157.25, which was pretty much just over 40 pounds down from the start of the prep. So I started prep 193.25, so 41 pounds down from my absolute peak, which was 233 pounds. What would that be? Well, it'd be another 40, so 81 pounds, something like that. Jesus Christ, I was very, very fat. 230, I'm going to put it in my calculator. 233 minus 157. 76, not 81, 76. So 76 pounds from my peak. But yeah, obviously I wouldn't want to do that in one go. So that was why I did the pre-prep. So I had the pre-prep diet where I basically went from 233 down to like low 180s, then worked back up from low 180s to low 190s, and then started the prep from low 190s, and then basically pulled off what ended up being just over 20% of my body weight. Ideally, it would have been a little bit less than that. And I think, again, with future preps, I'd be looking at a maximum like 15%, absolute maximum 20% of my total body weight I'd want to pull off. So I think in future, I wouldn't really be starting a prep any heavier than 185, maybe 190 maximum, and that's obviously when I'll have more muscle as well. But yeah, we basically pushed on until the UKDFBA finals, and this was definitely my best look of the entire season. It was my most confident. Again, the show is on YouTube, so feel free to have a look at that. But yeah, that was my best look. We began like a linear load. In hindsight, I should have started that linear load a little bit later, because I think my best look was probably like 5 to 7 days into the linear load, whereas I started it 2 weeks out from the show. And then again, if you're trying to like maintain a look, it's a little bit difficult, whereas almost like peaking into a show and bringing your best at a certain time frame is a little bit easier. But yeah, the linear load was definitely beneficial in terms of just like basically dropping fatigue, eating up a little bit, steps were a lot lower. It's the best my legs have ever looked. My legs didn't actually look like much of a weakness, especially from the front. From the back, definitely, but from the front, they didn't actually look like that much of a weakness, which was pretty cool. So yeah, I came 3rd at the UKDFBA finals. So Charlie beat me again, even though I thought I could have beaten him. But no, he deserved to beat me. And then Timo, a guy from Germany, won that class, and he was really good. He was really well balanced. He had the best like overall physique, definitely. So that was the UKDFBA finals, and then from there it was like, right, I've got 2 weeks. Let's get better for the WMBF, and I didn't get better. I wanted to get better, and in order to get better, I was thinking, right, I need to get sharper. I need to get leaner. And again, those sort of tendencies just creep in where you're constantly thinking that you need to get leaner, you need to get leaner, you need to get leaner. And in reality, like, condition is the most important part within bodybuilding. Like, if you're not in stage condition, you will look fat on stage compared to somebody who is, like, and then you'll get beat. The reason that I managed to win a British title at the end of the day, the reason that I managed to come 2nd in multiple shows or 3rd in multiple shows wasn't down to how much muscle I had. It was down to the fact that I was in better condition than most people, and you have to play to that strength. Like, obviously bodybuilding is a balance of condition and muscularity, but for a lot of people, they think of that as, oh, well, you know, bodybuilding's a balance, so I need to make sure that I've got, you know, as much muscle, or I'm as full as I possibly can be. But if you're not in stage condition, bringing fullness, you just look fat. Like, so, you know, you can be as full as you want on stage, but if you're not lean, you just look fat. You look soft. So condition is king. Yeah, like, you know, there's a reason that more often than not, the person who has the most detail on stage wins, even if they're a bit smaller. Often, you know, you'll get the odd individual who's maybe absolutely peeled, but it's like they just need to be bigger. But if you've already got a decent amount of muscle, like, you need to make sure that you do get into stage condition, because if you don't, you will look soft compared to anybody who is in stage condition. So yeah, basically that's how I sort of managed to get these placings in these shows, was more so down to my conditioning than anything else. But yeah, we did the UKDFBA, and then I wanted to push on into the WMBF and try and get a bit leaner. And again, then I just started sort of pushing myself a little bit further than was needed. With that, performance took a bit of a hit. My legs started to look a little bit depleted, and also by this point, this was week 30 and 31 of the prep. So like I said at the start of the video, it just gets to the point where you start to look a little bit faded. You start to, no matter what you do, you can eat up, you can drop fatigue, you can have low steps, you can do no cardio. I didn't do any cardio for months and months and months after the A1 show, so I didn't actually have any cardio in from August up until pretty much like the end of October, which was great. Like, and my legs definitely benefited from that, and my training definitely benefited from that. But yeah, you know, there's certain points where you'll think, oh, maybe I should add cardio back in, and then you do, and then your legs feel battered from it, and then you're thinking, oh, my performance hasn't been as good this week. So it is a balancing act. But again, like I say, by 30 weeks, 31 weeks, you're just pretty trashed. So yeah, I didn't really improve going into the WMBF, and I was kind of in that sort of middle ground where I wasn't like my sharpest, but then I also wasn't full. My body wasn't really responding that well. So then it was a case of, right, what can we do to bring the best possible look at this stage, which realistically was like, look, let's just eat a good amount more food, let's make sure that we're stress-free, and let's see how we go. So it was trying to bring a little bit more fullness with the condition that I already had. And again, I wasn't going to spill over. It wasn't like I was going and eating 10,000 calories or going for a Five Guys or anything stupid. I was adding like 1,000 calories or 500 calories, and I was like, right, let's see how the look is tomorrow. And we definitely brought it back, like in the few days before the show. So I was happy with that. And it was a decent look for the WMBF, but it wasn't as good as the UKDFBA. But anyway, with the WMBF, so what happened on the show day? The actual day itself, I came second. So there's a guy called Aviv that beat me from Israel. So I came second, and I was disappointed. Again, the video will be on YouTube. But I wasn't happy, but I wasn't disappointed in the fact that I'd been beaten or the result itself. Like, fair play, he was better than me. It was more so just that I'd put a lot of pressure and emphasis on winning a British title this year. The WMBF was, I'm not going to say always the main focus, but it was always the last show. So with it being the last show, it kind of was the main focus. It was like, that's going to be the end of the season. I never really, even at the start of the prep, I never really planned on doing Europeans or Worlds. It was always on the cards if it came to it, but it was never like, yeah, I want to do that. That's something that I will look at probably doing next time I compete. But yeah, that was like the main show, and by this point it was like, well, this is the last chance really to try and get that win and get that British title, because by this point I'd only won a men's physique show, which wasn't even the class that I was meant to do. So yeah, basically I lost on the day, and I was obviously disappointed. And then I think it was Wednesday. So, well, to be fair, so the show day was Sunday. Monday, me and Shannon had a really nice day in Birmingham. Sunday night we went for pizza with my family, and Reese came and Sanaya came. That was really nice. Went for some dessert food after. That's another story for another time. And then Monday, me and Shannon had a really nice day in Birmingham. Went out for some breakfast. It was really, really nice. And I think it was maybe on the Monday or maybe the Tuesday, that people were messaging me.
You know, the other people messages on Monday.
So on Monday.
It was on Tuesday when you had the message from.
Yeah, so Monday I had a couple of people message me saying, basically like, the guy who beat you has WMBF Pro in his bio. And I was like, yeah, is what it is. Like, but at this point, like, I wasn't like, oh, let's try and see if I can like sort it out and get the title. I wasn't even thinking like that, was I? I was just like, oh, that's weird. And then Shannon did like some digging on his Instagram and found a post that said, like, champion of champions and pro card winner back in Israel. So basically he'd won a pro card in the WMBF Israel show, like in 2022, so last year. But even then we were like, oh, that's weird. Like we still didn't think anything of it. I don't really know why I wasn't like, oh, that's not right. I kind of just left it, didn't I? I was like, I think already you're in that headspace where the prep's done, and you sort of just like, prep's done, let's just relax, let's not worry about it. And also, like, I've got so much work to be catching up on and doing and keeping on top of my clients' messages and stuff. It's like I don't really have time to be messaging Steph and being like, hi Steph, at the WMBF. I think this guy's maybe a pro. But anyway, Steph, or the WMBF Instagram page, messaged me on the Tuesday saying, like, can we have a call tomorrow? And by this point, I'd told them that I wasn't doing Seattle because I'd got a Worlds invite, and I said I'm not doing Seattle, just based on the fact that it was never in the initial plans, and also me and Shannon go to Morocco around that time, like 2 days after the show. So it'd have been like I'd have had to do the show, rush back home to then go to Morocco. I wouldn't have been able to like actually go and enjoy Seattle, and if I'd have, it just wouldn't have worked. So I told them I can't do Seattle. I thought she'd be ringing me to like ask me, oh, can you do Seattle, or like try and convince me. But then like Shannon said, oh, it might be about that thing, and I thought in the back of my mind I was like, yeah, it might be about the fact that he's already a pro. Turned out that it was. So we had a Zoom call, and she was like, oh, I just wanted to like let you know this was the situation. We found out that he is actually a WMBF pro. He won his pro card last year. It was a miscommunication with the Israeli president or something like that. Basically it was like a misunderstanding, and to be fair, the guy messaged me, Aviv, and he was like, oh mate, I'm sorry, and it's fine. Like, I'm not petty about things like that. It's not like I'm not going to be like kicking off about it. I just messaged him back, I was like, yeah, no stress, like, thanks for letting me know. So he was apologetic, Steph was really apologetic. So basically it turns out he wasn't supposed to be in the show because it's an amateur show, so they disqualified him, which then meant that I won. So I did win the British title at the end of the day. So I finally got there, finally got the British title that I wanted, the men's medium. So I'm now men's medium. I'm the best men's medium WMBF natural bodybuilder in Great Britain, apparently. So yeah, that's why it's in the Instagram bio. I need to put it in the YouTube as well. The YouTube caption. What's it called? Is it a bio? YouTube bio? Don't know. I'll put it in there. But anyway, turns out I won. Obviously, I didn't get that moment on stage, which is a shame, because like the only time on stage that I won this year was that FitX show. And again, without any disrespect to FitX or men's physique, like that wasn't my goal. It wasn't like my main goal when I set out to do this year. So yeah, shame that I didn't get that moment on stage, but these things happen. It's not a problem. You can't change the past. They've learned from it. It's not a massive issue, is it? It's pretty cool that they sorted it out. So again, I've said this on the podcast, like, thank you to the WMBF for sorting it out so quickly, because they could have easily just like swept it under the rug and been like, oh, Finn's not messaged us, so it doesn't really matter. So luckily they sorted it. They're going to send me a gold medal, so I'll get that framed. And yeah, like again, I haven't got like photos of winning the show or anything like that, but still, it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a bodybuilding show. It's just a title. Like, it's more so, how did I look on the day? How did I conduct myself this entire season? How successful this season's been for myself and my business. Like, this is, if you'd have told me a year ago or 2 years ago that I'd have like multiple British champions, I think I've got I've got more than that. I've got this year like 4 British title wins, 5 including myself, 6 including last year. Like, Josh has won a European title. We're going to Vegas next week with Josh. I've had loads of clients on stage this year. I've got loads planned for next year. Like, if you'd have told me that a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, that's ridiculous. There's no chance that's going to happen. So yeah, like this season has been a massive, massive success. And then to sort of top it off with actually winning the British title that I set out to win, especially in the strange way that it happened. So yeah, if like a year or 2 ago you'd have told me like I'd have the amount of clients on stage that I've had, the show wins that I've had, the British titles, the European title, just all of the placings, also the amount of people that I've met, like clients' families, clients' friends, clients' partners. Like, you meet so many amazing people, like, and build so many amazing relationships. Like, it's mental. Like, to be doing this as a job is crazy. like, and I absolutely love it. And when you're in it, you don't realise how amazing it is until afterwards. And even now, like, thinking about it, it's like I don't ever think about it. I never reflect on any of it. I just constantly go. Like, even now we're filming content for content. Like, I'm thinking of work always. And after this, I'll be on my phone and getting back to my clients. And then tonight, I've got clients set up to do. It's like, it's constantly go. And like, from time to time, I need to just take a step back and be like, it's pretty cool, like, where I'm at and what I've built. And it's still just the beginning, guys. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully, you enjoyed the video. Hopefully, Sam's been able to overlay all of the prep in the background. And yeah, here is to off-season. So I guess in terms of my plans now, moving forwards, basically I'm in like a recovery phase or a health phase, whatever you want to call it. That will generally be for about 4 to 6 weeks, where the goal is make sure that you get food focus under control, generally try and regain a decent sort of level of hormonal function, which is still obviously not there yet. It's only a week post show, so soon enough I will be hopefully getting erections again, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure Shannon is as well. Shannon's looking forward to that. So that'll be hopefully coming back soon. But yeah, the goal is really just get healthy again, eat plenty of good quality healthy food, which is the most important thing, and I'm feeling really good for that. Eating more fruit, eating more veg, eating a good amount of food volume. Like, you get towards the end of a prep and like you're obsessing over things like food volume and keeping your midsection as tight as you possibly can. You're having like tiny meals, like things like that on the show days, etc. So just having like decent amounts of food and not overthinking whether or not I'm going to be maybe a tiny bit bloated. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not stepping on stage this weekend or tomorrow or today or whatever it may be. So focused on performance, focused on health, focused on living my life, focused on business, like all these kind of things. That's the goal within like this next phase. And then pretty much from, let's say again, 4 to 6 weeks down the line, that'll be when me and Shannon get back from holiday. So we're going to Morocco again. We went at the start of the year, we're going at the end of the year because it was incredible. So we're going to the same place, but we're going a little bit longer this time. When I get back from then, it'll be like, right, cool, I'm in a good spot, I'm in a healthier position, hormonally I'll be in a better spot, hunger hormones will be well under control, and then it'll be a case of, right, we grow from here. So that initial phase, like ideally in the first week or so, I'm going to be 5% of body weight added, which is pretty much what I've done. The next week will be closer to sort of 2 to 3%, the next week 1 to 2, and then after that we'll be looking at 0.5% to 1%, which would be something like 1 to 2 pounds maximum per week, to the point where probably when I get up to about 180-ish, 190, then it'll be a case of, right, cool, now it's just like a really slow and steady gain from there. I know that for me, like, performance is generally very good from 180 pounds upward. Obviously last time I did still go 55 pounds nearly above that, so we'll see if we do that again this time, maybe 70 pounds above that. I keep saying I'm going to get up to 250 and people think I'm joking. I'm not joking. I'm going to be massive and fat. And Shannon likes me like that, don't you? She loves me like that when I'm basically snoring incredibly loud, and then I'd suffocate her if I rolled onto her. That's what she likes. She really likes that. Now, you can't see, like, I have no jawline. My face just merges into my body. I think that's a good look. And then also I had like a bushy beard. Well, I'll say bushy beard. It's the best beard that I could have. It's just a really good look, wasn't it? Maybe, Sam, see if you can overlay some photos. I'll find some for you, mate. So yeah, that's the plan. And I'll be there probably in about another year's time. But no, I won't go crazy in terms of the push-up. And whenever I do feel like I'm not as responsive to food or I'm not benefiting from pushing up, it'll be a case of a quick pullback and then get back into a surplus again. Competitive wise, I'll probably be looking at, I would say, 2026. So that's another 3 years down the line. I've got a lot of life goals, business goals, things like that I want to sort out first. So that's the plan. But it will all be documented, as always, on Instagram, YouTube, podcast. So make sure you follow across all those platforms. I appreciate everybody that does. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're not already. And here is to the next phase, the off season. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Peace.